Okay, we're on the air, and today we are here to address a stream by the Dark Conservatarian and Frederic Voltaire Bastide. So, S-Man, would you care to give the viewers a bit of context about who this guy is?
This guy, to say the least, is honestly, it's hard to actually give a good description other than he sounds like a total whack job, to say the least. He has stated some pretty questionable beliefs. He says some were jokes, and it's hard to tell when he's joking at this point. For instance, he was saying a bunch of anti-Semitic nonsense and then saying it was a joke, and the way he said it honestly did not sound like a joke.
Oh,
I
not
mean,
at all.
yeah, the ideas like let me be clear. His ideas sound like a joke, but the tone doesn't sound like a joke itself. So it's hard to say
Yeah,
um, what's his deal other than he just likes to, I guess, be a controversial
yeah,
SOB. And quite frankly, I don't hate the guy, but my God, he really, really. Okay, what happened was, I believe around last week, he posted a message in this lit chat, which if you guys aren't a part of, it's an utter shame. It's called Poor Bastards. And he said something along the lines of it's okay to hate LGBT culture or people or both. I don't remember the exact phrasing, but everybody and their dog just went on his ass, just executing basically this, you know, this fire and fury of getting annoyed with him, pissed off, and saying basically that his what he was saying was nonsense and quite frankly angry considering that why hate someone's culture. I mean, if your culture, quote unquote, is like the confederate nonsense, that's totally cool. But if you're a gay guy or you're a trans person or what have you, what's there to hate? I just don't see it.
hmm Well, that's because you are an actual libertarian. You believe in liberty. Even if I don't agree with your conception of liberty, i.e., the free market, I have an extreme disagreement with Mr. Voltaire because, as he's indicated, basically through all my interactions with him and all my encounters with him, he has some very hard right political opinions that I think do qualify as fascist.
Yeah.
Uh,
And I can hear some reverb.
oh,
I'm
the
gonna
reverb I think is from Brandon.
I'm gonna mute his ass really quickly. Sorry, Brandon. Anyway, but yeah, like when he was defending Pinochet on my stream back in February, and Owen was freaking the hell out about that. And I'm not gonna lie, Brandon, motherfucker, either put on some earphones or stay muted. Sorry. Anyway,
Dude, calm the fuck down, dude.
well, if you're not gonna have earphones in, then sorry, not
My
sorry.
earphones are in, okay?
All right, all right. Anyway, but yeah, when he was defending Pinochet, I got pissed because one, I've had enough of people smearing, saying, "Oh, you're a fascist," but it's like Pinochet definitely was a fascist. Like, if you're willing to commit murder to defend your ideals of the economy, for instance, throwing commies out of helicopters, and while I'm no big fan of commies, I would absolutely fight to defend their ability to stay alive
Hmm
rather than have some psycho just chuck him out of a helicopter.
Yeah.
Like there's no defending the United States um backing a coup to overthrow a legally elected president who won the popular vote, was confirmed to be the president,
Yeah.
and then all that horror happened. As for his about women not being able to vote, I don't give a damn if it's just philosophical or if he would want to see this happen.
Oh, that made me cringe so much when Zach said, "Oh, his position against LGBT is just a philosophical question." When he said LGBT is degenerate is just a philosophical question.
It's
Like
not. It's
it's
a it's a stupid question. It's not even a question. It's just wrong.
it's just
Like
this idiot homophobic idiocy.
yeah, and here's the thing. Like for a while, like I just get the impression that if calling if if you call Freddie out on this or anyone in the chat for this, you're gonna be called an SJW. And you know what? Anyone who wants to call me that, you know what? They can suck my left nut. I really don't care. Like at the end of the day, you can call people degenerate all you want. We call each other degenerate as a joke. You call me a degenerate for wearing a fedora. I've never called you that, but well, if you like pineapples on pizza, I'll definitely call you that. But it's over. It's over something that's like obviously not degenerate. He's calling people degenerate because of their sexuality and shit or their gender identity. To me, that's just not that isn't gonna fly. I will call it out. And then Humane was all getting annoyed with us having a little emotion in the game, and it's like, what do you expect when the dude wasn't providing any context? And everyone was all pissed off. How do you expect people to react? You cannot obviously expect them to react as this rational, skeptic, logical thinker. Bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has their moment.
Humane minds, temper tantrums.
Yeah, that 8-hour stream was pretty damn funny. And the first one that you and him interacted on my stream, not gonna lie, seeing him just yell at Brandon, flipping him off, saying, "Shut up, I'm agreeing with you." I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty funny.
Kazak.
Hi, Kazik. Nice to meet you.
He is a friend of mine, woke person on Twitter. Here's Esman and Brandon. We're just chatting about this fascist fool. He says race.
He's a fascist. Yeah, he's a fascist fuckboy.
He believes that women shouldn't have the right to hold property or vote. He believes that we should live in an aristocracy. He believes that Pinochet and Franco were good leaders. He believes that fascism is an esoteric, very spiritual philosophy, but he identifies as a libertarian.
He is as much of a libertarian as I am a leftist. Let's be clear. He is, like, I'm sorry, but like, how can you expect anyone to take him seriously? Like, I might not agree with leftists on everything, but I can agree that, in this case, maybe it's appropriate to call Freddie a fascist. Like, seriously, how can you expect people to take you seriously if you're justifying Pinochet, you're saying women shouldn't vote,
you
make anti-Semitic comments all the time, and then you say it's a joke after it took him forever. Like, even Aircraft Sparky is like, bruh, you're an anti-Semite, and Sparky's another character, but nonetheless...
He's the one that laughed at Abu Ghraib photos. So this is how far right a person we're dealing with.
Like, you fucked up when Sparky, even Sparky is like, bro, no. Kazik, what's your Twitter? Just curious.
At list, only I don't have the K in black, so BLACY, and yeah, I'll have to type it or something.
All right. Yeah, because I think I'm gonna follow everybody who joins the stream that I'm not currently following, just as a way to boost each other. But like when I first I first found Freddie's channel because he did a video on Secular Hawk about whether or not FDR ended the Great Depression. I thought he made some pretty interesting points. May not have agreed with every single one of them because I think he was accusing FDR of being a racist or some shit. I have no idea. Maybe you can make the argument, maybe not.
Well,
nonetheless,
definitely the whole like deporting of the Asian Americans, like
well, yeah. I mean, but like the economic policies, I think was what he was saying. I will not disagree in any way that the internment camps that to me was pretty racist.
Mhm.
But this whole when I was listening to his video and he made some very interesting points, but when he started talking about women, the Jews, and so on and so forth, I'm like, God help him. Like, seriously, it's absolutely insane how people like him expect to be taken seriously. Like, if I said half the shit he said, most people would think I'm a kook. Like,
and rightfully so.
Yeah, and I have no idea like how he was raised, and I'm not taking a shot at his parents. My parents just raised me to treat others how you want to be treated, and that no race is inferior or superior, and just that type of thing.
Oh, so Kazek, this is JJ. He goes by the Crusader on Twitter and YouTube.
Hello.
So what did you think of that disaster stream, JJ?
Honestly, I was accusing Zach on that, saying that he was falling for his bullshit. But now that I think about it, Before you say I'm supporting Freddy, I'm not. I am not
Okay.
supporting nor am I against him. But maybe for all we know, he could have worded it wrong. Now, don't like I said, don't bash me for this, but he might have worded it wrong, and we might be wrong about it, and we may um I might be able to give him the benefit of the doubt because let's just say Lapis or S-Man said something that was really fucked up, but they didn't mean it. And we would sometimes we'd probably give him the benefit of the doubt in a heartbeat, but yet
Well,
when it's him, we don't give him the benefit of the doubt because, well,
well, JJ,
look at what he said.
JJ, here's where I'm gonna have to stop you. Like, if I said half the shit Freddie said, which, first of all, if you guys would have reacted to me the way we all reacted to him, I wouldn't complain, period, because like the moment he said half the shit he was saying and everyone was like tearing him a new one, I think it was the reaction was justified. Like, if he would have said, I hate Christians and I hate their churches, I want their churches to be burned down, and you and Zach react with fury, I ain't gonna stop you guys because, quite frankly, you're something that you're very strong about, whether it's your religion or you being safe as a trans person. That's being, insulted by some fucker who doesn't understand, or it can't empathize with that. And quite frankly, I mean, if he worded it wrong, that's on him. Like, I've been on here long enough to know that if you're gonna say something, you have to word it right to the best of your ability. Like, if I'm trying to argue for a position, I make sure I write it down so I understand how to word it correctly, so I don't stutter, say or ah or whatever. Now, with Zach,
That is
since
true.
he's
If I may enter,
yeah,
if I may
Okay,
interject, Zach,
why
you
is
may go
everyone
ahead.
mad at me?
At you?
I'm not.
I'm not mad at you per se. I just think you're being a dupe. On a private stream with Esman and I, he called the Jews a subversive influence. It only makes sense that he would have, as secular Hawk believes, a public position and a private position. This is quite common on fascists. They present, on one hand, a more moderate, more accommodating, more kind of a public relations front, and on the behind, behind closed doors and private corners, they are much more fascist. They are much more aggressive because
they're
they
much
know
more
that,
disgusting.
yeah, because they know that most people hate, their stupid ideas.
Yeah, like and I do agree with Cult of Ham saying, if you're going to hold a position, this is something you should be able to hold in public and private. For instance, every position I hold, it's something I hold publicly and privately. If you ask me any position I have, it's something I think about privately and publicly. Like, I get annoyed with people who hold one opinion just for the polls, like Hillary Clinton endorsing same-sex marriage. Like, she just says whatever's
Well,
polling. So, just as an example.
he did say that he has his own criticisms of every ethnic group, but I wasn't convinced that he believes in legally suppressing Jews, in this example.
Well, he does believe in legally suppressing almost everyone's right. He's an advocate of an aristocracy.
And let's keep
Aristocracy.
That is
Okay,
true.
so
He did admit that.
yeah, he says he hates democracy.
He believes in essentially not giving poor people, anyone who doesn't own property, to vote, and I'll disagree with that along with you guys. But I'm not necessarily convinced that that is like an ethnic legal discrimination.
He called the
Hey, is my audio messed up still,
I mean,
or is it okay
You're
now?
fine.
His position on women voting, that is like an
Just let me know in the
unjustified
chat
legal
when you stop that,
discrimination.
because it is.
What? Sorry.
His personal position, I don't care if it's something he would want to enact or if it's just a personal position. Like, we can all agree it's stupid and wrong, and I think Lapis, among everyone else, I don't know about all of Kazik's positions, but I think Lapis among all of us is like probably the strongest the strongest critics of what he's saying, and I have to agree. I personally do not care whether or not it's a personal or a decision he wants to enact. It's still a disgusting one, and I honestly don't feel bad for losing my cool at him in the chat. Like, You know, seeing like, you know, oh, we should hate. It's fine to hate LGBT culture. Like,
He
you know,
said
hating. You know that.
he retracted that. He said that it's immoral to hate.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah, is he
public.
going to change his mind a few weeks later? Because it seems like, you know, only after getting the shitstorm he got did he. Go ahead.
He kind of seemed to start regretting that in his apology towards Faith, but then Faith, you know, as she shared that screen cap of him directly messaging her and the poor bastards.
Can you blame her for being pissed? Like, if
Well, that's
I
not
would
really my point.
Well,
I mean, my point is the regret and the desire to like change his belief.
Yeah, but he obviously isn't. He's just doing it for the sake of like peace of mind. He didn't expect that he'd get such a backlash from stating his private position, and so he's moving back to his public persona, even within the chat. When he was in a very private space with Usman and I, he expressed some very far-right opinions, like the Jews being a subversive influence. It doesn't matter if his public opinion is different. What it matters is his actions and his consistent beliefs do tend towards, you know, believing that the Jews are a subversive influence. You can even find as much on one of Humane Mind streams, you know, because Humane Mind gets so little traffic to his channel. He probably thought he was safe expressing that opinion there.
Yeah, and on my stream, which let me see if I can pull it up really quickly.
What, you guys have a soundbite of him saying that, no, I think LGBT people should be legally suppressed? For in this example?
That's not what we're talking about. I
mean, you brought up the Humane Mind stream, so I'm just wondering of why you brought it up. So my question is, was he saying something opposite to what he just said in my stream in the Humane Mind stream?
Yes, very much so.
So he has a legal position. So he has a legal position against LGBT people, is what you're saying?
No, I'm talking about the anti-Semitism. I'm talking about how he, as opposed to just saying that the Jews were ethnocentric, he said in the stream. He said that that the Jews were a subversive influence and that they were kind of corrupting society. You know, this is very fascist stuff.
That would add on top of his allegation. I don't know necessarily how him saying they're ethnocentric, but then at the same time saying that they're a negative influence, how those run opposite of one another.
Because on one hand, it's just, you know, a fairly banal, if, you know, very stereotypical and silly opinion about the Jews, and the other reflecting a belief in an, you know, a massive anti-Semitic conspiracy theory where the Jews pulled the strings.
Well, that's not evidence of lying, though.
Very much so. You know, he.
No, I mean, if they were to run contrary to one another, then it would be lying.
They do run contrary to other. He said that his only thing against the Jews was that they were ethnocentric. That was his only criticism of an ethnic group. Whereas in the Humane Mind stream and his private stream with S-Man, on numerous times, you can find it in the chat if you scroll up, he said the Jews are a subversive influence. They have a negative effect on culture. And, you know, he also says things like, allow me to quote Joseph Goebbels over and over and over again.
Yeah, and
an ordinary guy says, allow me to quote Joseph Goebbels.
Yeah, and I'm going to point out for the record, when Lapis here says private stream, it's like a regular off-air hangout call. So and that's where Freddie would be most comfortable saying his shit. Because let's be honest, anyone with a half a brain would not say that shit if it was like where it could be streamed to the internet or publicly in general.
That's very true.
No one in their right mind, unless they were so dense about that, like if I held his beliefs and I knew this could be streamed to YouTube, I wouldn't say that. And since it's an off-air hangout, what happens in that call, the only people who know are the actual participants. Now, I want Zach to be able to address. Didn't you say something about Lapis? Can you put the words together? I can't remember how exactly you phrased it, but you said Zach said something about it's a philosophical
He
point
said,
about
if you
LGBT.
believe, kind of to paraphrase here, he said that Voltaire's position that fascism is Voltaire's position that LGBT is culture is degenerate is a philosophical question.
That would be his philosophical. That would be his philosophical stance, where that can possibly not run in contrary with his legal stance. Like, for example, take drugs, for example. Philosophically and morally, I don't think anybody should be taking meth, crack, or heroin, but my legal stance is allow them to. Understand? Make sense?
Sure. I mean, I see.
I mean, that's why I was trying to say that his philosophical stance might be this, but that does not affect his legal stance. Whereas his legal stance is the one that I think that people should be most concerned with here. And as far as him saying on my stream that his only concern is of them being ethnocentric, I mean, I guess because he used the word only, that that would be a case of it running contrary with what he might have said on multiple other streams.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, we would have to, a person would have to press him and ask him, did you say on this other stream XYZ about Jews? And if he does not deny it, well, then he would not be lying, and then he would have to say, so when you said your only criticism was they're ethnocentric, then was you using the word only clumsy wording on your part? And he would say yes, and then that would probably resolve that. But yeah, I'm going to just say it right here that I do think that Frederick Voltaire Bastiat is definitely not an articulate guy, if I'm going to be honest. I mean, especially in a chat that is running like 1,000,000 miles an hour with people swarming you and whatnot.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Like, of course, hindsight's going to be 20/20. But if I were to say something like what he said and I'm getting swarmed, instead of, spamming a hangout link to people who are pissed off, and he did not enter that chat with, being articulate, and the way he also phrased it was pretty stupid. And I don't care what Humane says. You can't blame people for being pissed off and maybe not wanting to hear his idea right off the bat. If I were him, I would have left that chat until it cooled down. And I would have written something trying to justify it if I was him. I'm just saying. And Zach, I don't know about you, but I'm going to have to ask you, can you blame us for being so pissed about what he said in the chat when he said it's okay to hate LGBT culture, and we went pissed off? I mean,
and also when he said women shouldn't be allowed to vote.
Or hold property, or hold political office. No, it's not hold. It's hold political office was the other one.
Oh yeah, I forgot to. I forgot to ask him about the idea of women holding political office, but I guess him saying they should not have the same equal right to vote as men kind of would be self-explanatory on that former question.
Yeah.
But the question is, can I blame you guys for being angry? Not really, no. And just for the record, after, like, in the heat of the chat exploding right then and there, when I was all like, what the fuck is going on? Can people calm the fuck down? And then S-Man, you're all like, fuck you, Zach.
Well,
and then I was kind of doubting the idea of him saying hateful shit, like it's okay to hate XYZ people. I was kind of skeptical on that. I was all like, somebody show me the evidence. I was showed the screen cap, and as soon as I was showed the screen cap, I was all like, okay, yeah, I can understand. And I just gave everybody the benefit of the doubt and understood more the anger towards him.
And here's the thing. The reason I got pissed at you is because when you entered the chat saying everyone to calm down, it was like, let's say, and I'm going to have to use the example again. Let's say I said to JJ, oh, LOL, I hope your church gets burned down or something. Like, if everyone and their dog would have swarmed me telling me that I'm a cunt for saying that and so on and so forth, I can't blame everyone for getting pissed off. And if you came in the chat saying everyone to calm down, is to be fair, you didn't know the context. You didn't get why we were pissed off.
Yeah.
And I would, and if something like this were to happen again, and I were to enter the chat unaware of what's happened, I'd just ask what's going on rather than telling everyone to chill out. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just saying. But anyhow,
Well, I'm sorry.
it's all right. It's all right, Brandon. It's all good. But anyhow, you know, I can't necessarily blame, like when Owen was on that stream of mine, which I seriously need to find that, because that stream, it's quite a lengthy one, but if you go in about halfway, you can find Owen and Freddie in the chat. But basically, Freddie was making some apologisms for Pinochet, and Owen's like, "Are you a fascist?" And I almost had to concur that sounded pretty, hate to use a left-wing slang, but a little fashy, you know, saying things like that, you know. I mean, you can't really...
Wasn't I also a part of a stream where he did say, I agree with Pinochet?
Yeah, he was making some defenses for Pinochet, and...
He even did it on a Zach's stream. He's like, Allende deserved to be overthrown.
Oh, I think I can... it was either that or...
But at the same time, he was saying that he did concede that Pinochet was an immoral man. An immoral man.
Well, your boy needs to understand that it's more than just immoral. It's, you know...
It's downright fucked up.
Yeah, okay,
but,
so...
You know, what he did to the Chilean people, there's no defense. Yeah. There's no defense for massacring your, you know, your political opponents and all those who oppose your authoritarian regime.
Yep. All right, here's the link to the stream where Owen and Freddie interact for the first time, and even Ham was going savage on Freddie, and I honestly couldn't blame him. I mean, like...
That entire stream looked like a free-for-all.
Well, anytime you have Ham and Owen and Freddie, if you have either of those three in a stream, it's going to be a free-for-all, especially if there's more than just them in it. And
Pinochet's dead.
Thank God he's dead. Honestly, I don't want to sound like a commie or anything, but you know, it's a shame he was never hanged with a piano wire and thrown out of a helicopter himself.
Maybe she
I'm
should have.
surprised he wasn't hung by his nuts and then stabbed in the throat.
Jesus, JJ, I was going for a less brutal option. What did you say, Lapis?
I think he should have. I think he should have been dealt with a la Mussolini.
Ah, I see what you did there.
How about you, Vic? What do you think would be the proper fate for Pinochet?
Him?
Hmm?
Say that again?
What would be the proper fate for Pinochet, the Chilean dictator?
For Pinochet? Well, I guess we can fashion gulags, if you know what I mean.
Honestly,
but who's this Quazak person?
Kazik, I'm not very familiar with him.
He's a friend of mine on Twitter.
Ah, okay. Well, it's nice to meet you, Kazik.
Nice to meet you too.
Yeah, and yeah, like trust me, if you were in the group chat, it feels like every here and there the group chat just someone says something stupid and controversy brewing. I mean, you had Colda Ham say some messed up shit to Owen. Then a few months later, it felt like everything calmed down, and then you have Jocelyn constantly lying, and then you have Freddie saying what he says, and then you got Humane being an inconsiderate asshole about mental health, and it feels like all the dumbasses in the chat just keep going. You know, if something snaps in their head, they just go, I don't know.
Although, to give credit to him, he's not a dumbass. He's just an asshole.
Yes. And
I'm honestly still not convinced to just flat out dislike Humane.
I don't dislike the guy. I just think he sometimes lacks empathy and can be a bit of a cunt.
He is a douche. He is a bit of a douchebag.
A bit.
So I am a little behind this.
I wish he just stopped messaging me. Oh, sorry. Okay, so what were you saying?
So who is this Freddie guy exactly?
Okay, I'll explain. So Frederick Voltaire Bastiat, he or whatever his Twitter name is now, he calls himself a libertarian, but he holds some extremely questionable views. I'm going to post in this Hangout a link to his. Oh, you're on your phone. Oh, right.
My computer's broke.
Oh, okay. Well,
I hope it gets fixed soon.
Yeah. Sadly, Freddie's computer isn't broken long enough for him to go outside and actually meet people of the real world.
You know
Anyway,
what's bugging me is that Google It was throwing the allegations of me being a liar.
Okay,
Yeah,
you're
that was
interrupting S-Man's
uncalled
explanation
for.
here.
Oh, okay,
Zach.
yeah. Google, not Google It. What am I saying? Freddie is he holds some very questionable views. He said that it was okay to hate LGBT culture, something along those lines, and everyone and their dog was pissed about it. And I honestly can't blame everyone for being pissed off. And he just holds some very questionable views, calls himself a libertarian, but a lot of his views contradict that, like overwhelmingly contradict that. And I would I'd say he's probably more along the lines of being a fascist rather than a libertarian. I don't think he is for a second. I think he's insane. Sorry, not sorry, but he's just a questionable guy. I don't hate the guy, but I do think he just says some of the most insane bullshit ever. Basically, he's like a leftist wet dream of how to describe a fascist. Like, I swear to God, a few of his ideas, it's like, maybe they have a point. Maybe they could say you're a fascist, Freddie. And hell, if you guys want, make a meme where you Google the word fascist and the image is his face. Just saying.
I remember when I was I used to identify as a classical liberal, so I had a lot of friends who were this libertarian and conservative, but they got really, really. This was back in 2017, so towards the end of that summer, I started noticing them getting more and more sympathetic to fascist beliefs.
Yeah.
And a lot of them outright supporting the rally in Charlottesville, which I took offense. So, that I don't like in my state.
Yeah.
So,
to be honest,
let me ask you a quick question. Kazek, you a socialist now?
Say again?
Oh, I checked his
Just
Twitter. Yeah, he is. I checked his Twitter. I'm
more
following
specifically a syndicalist, but
never mind.
This is not Marxist-Leninist.
I got a question. Does Google It know what the definition of a liar is?
I honestly don't know. I'm gonna have to ask.
I really
her later. But Google It. I don't blame her for being pissed. I just think sometimes she does take it over the top. For those who don't know who Google It is, because she's not very active on here anyway. She used to be, I guess you could say, an alt-right, far-right, whatever troll, and then I think after a while changed her mind or something, and she's still a tad of a troll, but she's like way less ableism, way less.
Yeah, she became woke.
Yes, she got woke.
She's become less lightened up.
Yeah, she was woke, and she combed her hair because she realized that she still had bed hair going on. But anyway, yeah.
He cleaned her room.
Her comedic edge was lost as she became more and more and more serious and more nasty to disagreements.
She's still funny though. I'm not gonna lie. Some of the things she said were hilarious. Like, bear in mind, I do not agree with her saying, "I hope your church gets burned down." But the fact that she would say something like that, I'm just like, Google it. What are you doing, man?
Maybe in a different time and place, I would laugh at that myself as well. But knowing what Google has become now in the context of the whole situation, I can't help anything but just get all frowny about it.
Yeah, I want to like her, to be honest, but the shit that she says and how, crazy and, very energetic that she gets, it really makes me pissed off. Really
like I said, I don't think she was justified in saying, "I hope your church gets burned down." But I just simply laughed at how offensive it could be taken. I will say that, for the record, I don't want anyone's church to be burned down. I don't want anyone to die. So just saying.
What
To
do
be
we
fair,
say?
one of our churches in town actually did almost burn down.
Yeah, and I try to be fair to Google it and other people because it's like, she said she had some pretty bad mental health problems, and I'm just like, we got to be patient, and I know people with that type of problem, so I just try to be patient. Like, I used to be very impatient with people like that, but it's just over time, it's like smoothing over the rough edges included me having to be more patient with people. So like, so
Somehow
if
I
I
wonder,
may-
though, Zach, why you are more angry at Google it than you are at Voltaire. To me,
yeah,
that is very confusing. Like, you seem very, like pissed off, like really disillusioned with Google it, and yet you leap to the defense of Voltaire, someone who believes that people like me shouldn't have the right to vote or hold political office, believes that LGBT culture is degenerate, defends dictators like Franco and Pinochet, believes that fascism is an esoteric question. He frequently waxes lyrical about it.
Perhaps it's because Google it is coming off as far more unlikable and cuntish.
that doesn't matter though. Like, that doesn't matter though. Like, I'm friendly to
Her
Owen.
attitude turns me off more.
And that doesn't matter though. Like, it doesn't really matter. Like, I find Owen less likable than Lapis because of how Owen comes off as a smug prick. But I'm not going to. I'm
problem
not.
too.
But I'm not gonna. Like, if Lapis were to say, something about like, hey, let's like if she was serious about hanging anyone to the right of Karl Marx's left testicle, like if she was serious about that, if Owen and her were to say the same thing, I'd say you guys are both fucking crazy. I wouldn't just beat on Owen for being an unlikable dickhead. I mean, he's not that unlikable, but if he was, regardless, you get the idea. Like, I don't care if someone's more or less likable.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like personality means nothing in that case. Like, I hope you see where I'm coming from, but it's absolute insanity.
To me, it seems so weird. Like, this is just respectability politics. Google it. You probably find her politics, quite important because you're, a right-wing Christian libertarian. But I think, like, even to you, a lot of the ideas that Frederick Voltaire is expressing should be quite obvious that they're counter to a libertarian society in ways that are probably much more drastic than Google it. But because Voltaire, puts on a smile and he seems chill, you're willing to overlook his flaws. You're willing to overlook, his pretty fascist beliefs just because of, his politeness.
Yeah,
put Richard Spencer in a suit and he's still Richard Spencer.
Guys, let Zach say what he needs to say.
Nope, I was not overlooking it. In fact, I was quite disappointed to hear, like, within the first 10 minutes of him saying out and out just women shouldn't be allowed to vote. His legal position was. Maybe perhaps I was also staying calm because it was an interview as well, and I'm trying to, like, get him back in, possibly.
Yeah.
But but to say that I was not disappointed, I mean, and I was trying to press hard on the whole issue of his belief on women voting.
All right. Well, okay. In the context of an interview, I understand you're not going to be like, "What'd you say, cunt?" like Lonely Wolf did. Like, I get that. That's totally understandable.
My question is more for how you're acting on this stream, still seeming more angry at Google it than Voltaire.
Yeah.
Even though Voltaire, is off the stream, you no longer have to be polite. I understand in the context where I would invite someone on my stream, I would do my utmost best to show them respect. But you're still dealing with, a pretty crazy character. And yet, like, I'm not seeing any sort of acknowledgement of that.
Also, I want to point out, Zach, that, like I said, in the context of an interview, and that's fine to be all respectful and everything, but, like, it's also funny that on a stream, and another stream, like, your priorities are really out of whack here. Like, okay, I see where you're coming from with Google it being kind of an annoying bitch. I get that. But it's not that big of a deal. Like big deal. Like, Freddie saying the stupid shit he's saying to me is, like, I'm not saying it's a crime of the century, but it's not. Google it being an annoying fucker is not that big of a deal compared to Freddie saying half of the stuff he says. Like, get over it. Google it is sometimes annoying. It's you can't honestly say it's any worse than Freddie holding half the stupid, shitty beliefs he has. Go ahead.
I mean, S-Man does make a good point on that.
Also, what is Google it? I mean, I can see her when she was saying, "Oh, you're pissed off," like you're lying about us being pissed off. I don't think you're necessarily like intentionally doing it, but I do think you were in some areas maybe missing the point of like why. We weren't pissed because of the fact you interviewed him. I couldn't have cared less.
I was not saying that you were pissed of that. I mean, I thought that you guys were pissed of suspicion of him having like authoritarian policies that he believes in and would push for.
Well, if he's saying those things, then I don't think he can really get mad if we assume he's a fascist or an authoritarian or an overall piece of shit. I don't think he has a right to complain whatsoever about us suspecting that at all.
Well, I wasn't talking about him right there. I was talking more about us right here in this chat, this conversation of why. No, okay, never mind.
Okay. Well, I just created a Twitter poll. You all can vote on it if you want. Anyway, but it's hard to tell sometimes with him because if he's saying he's joking about the whole anti-Semitic comments shit,
it did not come off as joking. Not at all. Came off as completely sincere. Both on Humane's stream where he got actually kind of a bit angry at Humane for like even Humane joined in with me kind of mocking the anti-Semitism and his simplistic thinking about the Jews. And you could see a few cracks in his persona there.
Yeah, he was getting a little triggered, to use a lack of a better term, to say, he's getting all pissy that people were kind of not taking him seriously. And it was absolutely insane about how, like I said, you cannot expect to be taken seriously if that's what you're saying. Like, if I say, what should I say? Like, if I said, are Christians mentally ill, for instance, and people are like, wow, what a piece of shit, or he holds some very questionable views about religious people, or what have you. You can't expect people like you and JJ would not take me seriously. I just know that straight up. Like, you guys wouldn't if I held that opinion.
Oh, hell no.
Like, and I can't blame you. Just like if you and Zach thought atheists were mentally ill or something. Like, obviously, I wouldn't take you seriously. I'd probably laugh at you like a lot.
As you have the right to.
Yeah, and like I don't know how much clearer I can make it. I think you get the point, Zach. I'm gonna read the chat a little bit because there's like quite a bit of things to say.
So I'm probably going to leave
having him kicked out.
Who's leaving?
I'm probably going to leave pretty soon because I hadn't even had dinner. But I just want us to like is there anything more that you guys want to say to me? Like,
I'm not angry at you.
Yeah, like we're not. I'm not. I can't speak. I can only speak for myself. I'm not mad. I don't know if I will still do that response video. Maybe it'll of course be like an edited version, like in full to your video. But overall, I will say that
stream.
Yeah, like it'll be a condensed version. But nonetheless, I think that I say just press a little harder. If he's not answering the question, just say you're not answering the question or something.
Or answer the fucking question.
I don't know. Listen to the entire stream. Like, there was points where I thought he wasn't directly addressing the question. I said, yeah.
Yeah, well, he
wasn't addressing it.
Yeah, that's the term. That's where the term pussyfooting comes in. But yeah, I hope you had a good dinner, Zach.
But wait. I mean, what do you guys want me to do regarding Google it and Voltaire and how that I should treat them?
Google it. I mean, you can still call her a bitch and everything and say she's menstruating and shit, even though it's getting a little tired. I think it's overdone, but
it's very dickish.
I'll say this, that I guess reconsider priorities. Like Freddie's questionable beliefs, I think are far worse than Google It being a little annoying. I don't think Google It is like that
A
bad.
little annoying.
Yes.
Okay, a lot annoying.
Okay, whatever. Nonetheless, she's not like that bad. Like, sure, she can be annoying for a leftist. No offense to the lefties here, but
Ah,
Like everyone watching is a leftist.
sorry, lefties. But some of you are, but hashtag not all. I don't know. I've not spoken to Kazix. So
Hashtag leftist lives matter.
LLL. I mean LLM. Jesus. But yeah, I guess reconsider your priorities. I mean, Google It being a kind of annoying is not that bad compared to someone who holds some pretty fascist beliefs. I don't think he's a libertarian for a second. He's like, he keeps going on against democracy, which, okay, I get you don't like democracy.
He said democracy is a soft form of communism.
He did say that.
You want to know what else you want to know what else could be a soft form of communism to him, Lapis? If you dare donate like anything to charity, he'll probably call you a communist. It's also
Okay.
Jim. You have a good night, Zach. But yeah.
If you guys have like, we'll obviously probably talk about this later, but if you guys have any more unaddressed concerns or questions or whatever, like comment down on that stream or tweet me or whatever. But,
all right,
yeah.
will do.
We will.
But yeah, have a good night.
Good night.
Yep. But yeah, it's like
I don't know whether to vote for him to be reinstated or chuck him out of a helicopter.
I can't vote on it. I do have a private account, so I'll probably vote on it that way. I probably should have had more options
between two places.
Vote on who?
whether or not to, yeah.
I personally have already made my vote.
Yep.
I know, I saw it.
I voted the same on my private account. But here's the thing, like everyone can vote on it. Actually, I'm gonna. Oh yeah, you guys already got the links. If you Twitter people want to vote on it, go ahead. I honestly don't really care if you guys do or don't. That's just your ability to voice your opinion in a poll. You guys have 6 days to do it until the poll expires, and until then, you guys can mash the buttons in until your fingers are worn out and you are no longer able to use them. But I will say that it is unjustifiable what Pinochet did. Like when I was reading up about it, because leftists would bring this up like a Bible verse, I was reading up about it, and I'm like, as much as I do not like communism, I do not believe it is ethical or justified to overthrow a legally elected president to say, the people voted him in. He won the popular vote, and he was confirmed by the House of Representatives. Let me check. I want to make sure I'm getting this correct. But yeah,
He went into a coalition, got them a majority of the popular vote, and then went in with the Social Democratic Christian Party, formed an electoral alliance. And he started executing his agenda from there.
Yeah, like okay. So Salvador Allende.
Fuck it.
Yeah. All right. So JJ said he's voting to chuck him, and if no one gets what I mean by chuck him, I'm going to really, really be disappointed. But anyhow,
it's pretty ironic considering he's pro Pinochet.
Yeah. So yeah, the candidates are Salvador Allende, George Alessandre, and Radomiro Tomic. And not Pinochet. Allende had 1 million votes, almost 1.1. George had a little over 1 million, and Radomiro had less than 1 million. So your boy Allende wins 36.61% of the vote. His confirmation vote was 153. The guy who placed third got none, and George got 35. I am so bad at pronouncing last names, so I'm just going to use their first names. I'm too white to try and pronounce their last names. But anyhow,
the one that won was that. What was the name of the one that won?
Salvador Allende. Yeah, he was
okay.
murdered. It's alleged he was either murdered or committed suicide due to a coup that occurred in August of 1973. The United States backed that coup. The Supreme Court of Chile ruled it was a suicide. A lot of people who were supporters of Allende were kidnapped, tortured, and murdered. The Constitution was suspended.
Yeah.
It's a dictionary definition of a dictatorship.
What was the name of the party that Allende were part of?
The party, let me see it. I got it right here. The party
Chilean
was
socialist.
yes, Chilean Socialist. His other political affiliation
He was in an
was
alliance called the Popular Unity.
Coalition. Yes, and basically, for those who don't know, Nixon, Richard Nixon, after he had interfered with the U.S. election in '68, in 1970, was attempting to interfere with this election. Was furious when he found out it was going to be Allende, regardless, and organized a coup, backed a coup. The United States is infamous for doing this. Like, if you meet anyone in our chat, we kind of acknowledge our country's committed quite a few war crimes.
Too many.
And yes,
Yeah.
I mean, one is too many overall, but just saying. Allende, he gave a farewell address. From what I've read, it sounded like he gave a farewell address just before he died. And then Pinochet took over, and the terrors of what happened next was it's too bad to describe on air. I mean, I've read it, and I honestly it does make me question my faith in humanity, especially some of the things that have happened under that.
I'm gonna go, guys.
All right.
I got a lot of shit that I need to get done.
Okay,
right.
JJ.
Have a good night, JJ.
So then, perhaps.
And my final words is that capitalism rules, socialism sucks. Goodbye.
I always love it when you do that. I think
that hurts.
I can see the hurt in Kazac's eyes, and don't let that bourgeoisie get to you.
I'm good. My
bourgeois
capitalist.
Oh yeah, he is a capitalist, and I am too. But I'm just talking about a bit of the history of like what happened here, just for context.
Yeah.
But yeah, people argue all the time whether or not Pinochet's dictatorship benefited the economy, whether the ends justified the means, and I think there was actually a recession and some the economy did go into. It says for the most of the 90s, Chile was the best performing economy in Latin America.
The 90s.
Yeah.
The 90s after Pinochet.
Yeah, after he left. He left in March 11th, 1990, and ever since, that's the date whenever that's every March 11th of after an election year is where someone will leave office, just like January 20th is for our country. But yeah, it said the economy was doing fine. This is what I'm reading, by the way. Just saying. I'm not like I have to look into this further, to be fair, but
that's okay.
Yeah. Well, like I don't want people to be like, S-Man's a Pinochet apologist and punching me in the throat over it. I don't want to be punched. I swear to you, I'm not a fascist.
Perfectly clear that you are not a fascist.
Well, I just have OCD of making that clear. Like I don't know. Sorry, but anyway, yeah. Just for those who don't know, if you lived in Chile, be glad you weren't alive when Pinochet was in power, or if you were, just be glad you're not anymore.
Yeah.
So
now that we've kind of got the whole Voltaire thing out of the way, I thought this might be a good chance for you to get to know Kazac a bit.
Me?
Yeah.
All right, sure. So you said you were you consider yourself a classical liberal, and then some of your libertarian buddies, for some reason, they, for lack of a better term, they made a mess of their bed, and they started to sympathize with some pretty questionable things.
They Nazified, in my opinion.
I actually think that's a clever term, to be honest. It's pretty accurate.
Because what happened was, I was on this app, Vent. I've not been back in months. Won't be going back again. But it's one of those apps where you vent your feelings and shit. And so right-wing people there, because there were so many SJWs on that app. So I found a little community to within about 6 months, my the circle of friends that I had started, pushing slightly alt-righty. Like they were always hardcore Trump supporting, some of them conservative. One side is an anarcho-capitalist, um, and he alternated between anarcho-capitalist and minarchist.
Oh
And yeah, and then around June or July 2017, hanging out with a guy whose literal username was. They started, and I interacted with him too because I wanted, and at first I thought he was genuinely friendly because that was, but his views were horrible. Like he wanted to kick out all the non-whites from the United States, which
The
is
whites.
yeah.
not only is it's a logistical nightmare.
Yeah. Yeah, I see. Yeah.
And go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, because when you were talking about the whole thing in Charlottesville, I'm not gonna lie, I do very much see where you're coming from. When Charlottesville was going down, all I could do was first of all hang my head in shame, and to see some of the people were kind of seemed like they were secretly being apologetic about what happened in Charlottesville was rather shame. And with some people who call themselves libertarian, I think anyone who I see doing that, I do call them out and say that if you support an ethno state or you support deporting like people who are born here and you're saying we should deport them because they're non-whites, I think that's unethical and unjustified. I do very much see where you're coming from. And as for having a place to vent, I just have a private Twitter. No one knows it, so that's just what I do. Go ahead.
So when it comes to after a huge falling out with them, like I'd had smaller falling outs with them before. I was because since January of 2017, I was shifting. I was liberal to social liberal to social democrat and leftward, and they were shifting rightward and authoritarian. Well,
Yeah.
and so I've had falling outs with them, especially since they had a high tolerance. They didn't. And they didn't really. Interesting, but they were extremely transphobic.
Mm.
They but I had my biggest falling out with their after Charlottesville because they failed to see what was wrong. A lot of them were like, "Oh, it wasn't that bad." Some of them were news that the driver of the car was an Antifa. I was like, no, true.
Yeah.
That's not right.
Yeah, I actually did have a stream a few months ago with the guy who was saying that it was an accident. Like the car hitting the girl was an accident. And looking back, like what he was saying was, if you look at the clip, and you have to be very careful with how you look at it, it looks like he's hitting the brakes twice. And his logic was he hit the brakes twice, therefore he may have been panicking. And then you also see the car he was using was a horrible choice. It's plastic. Just like the genuinity of alt-righters, but still, I digress. That the saying it could have been an accident. Now, I honestly don't. I did have a hard time thinking about whether or not it was. I'm not sure. I doubt it, to be honest. I really do. But I do think maybe you could make the case. However, to me, it doesn't matter. Someone died. I do think the guy should be put away for a while.
I think you're buying some talking points there that aren't necessarily true. Like
I'm saying, like what I'm saying, I'm not buying it wholesale. I'm just saying maybe you could. I don't think I like I said, the clip that I was shown from the guy who I talked to, throughout the whole thing, I was taking it with a grain of salt. A few points, I'm like, okay, maybe you do, but I never. But at the same time, it was kind of like he hit the brakes. If he hit the brakes twice, like you see him going down the street the entire time.
That could have just been involuntary, right? Like
Oh,
it's pretty stressful experience plowing into 30-some people.
oh
And
yeah, like
alt-right are, they're horrid people, right?
here's the thing. If I was that dude in the car, if it was truly an accident, here's this radical concept. I would turn the steering wheel a tad or a huge tad in order to hit a building so I don't hit anybody. Like, to me, it doesn't matter whether or not it was an accident. To me, the dude killed somebody. He needs to pay. If it was intentional, which I do still think it was, I would say death penalty. If it was an accident, I'd say 10 years. To me, that's not a whole lot for a human life, even though I still would prefer the death penalty. But I tend to be a tad, I don't know. But anyhow, it
I wonder,
was, I mean,
I wonder, does Virginia the death penalty? I'm not
yeah,
sure, actually.
they do. They've a majority of the states in this country still do have capital punishment. Mine does. Virginia is far more active compared to my state, but it's Texas ultimately that
Most
takes
of the South
crown.
is.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's imagine my shock. It's the South wouldn't beat
Death
that.
penalty actually. Oh, okay.
Huh?
Let's see. Is death penalty? I think it was still legal for people who are younger than 18.
It was until 2005 in Roper v. Simmons. It was as low as 16 until actually there was no age limit, I think, until 1988. The Supreme Court said it violated the Eighth Amendment to the Constitution of the United States and against cruel and unusual punishment. So anyone under 16 could not be legally executed. Then in 2005, a few years after Oklahoma executed a 17-year-old, and I've researched it just so I know what to say. Or have an opinion, but basically they said in Roper v. Simmons, I think it was called, that it is unconstitutional to execute anyone below 18. So if I don't know how old the rest of you are, I think Lapis said 17. So if Lapis punched a Nazi in the head and took his money or something to spend it on far left stuff, in my state, if she could not get the death penalty because she was under 18 at the time of the crime. If she was over 18. She could. I mean, my state's never executed a woman, so I guess Lapis would be safe. I mean, from the death penalty. I don't know about prison, but anyhow,
Yeah. If I did the same thing, 911 would be the death penalty.
Yeah,
it's true.
Honestly, I think I'll save it for another time because I actually no, I should just say it. My solution is rather than just have body cams, I would say it should be mandatory. And for every time a cop pulls out a weapon or pulls out a gun, well, same thing, but anytime they pull out a weapon, they have to justify it with paperwork. Anytime they discharge that weapon or use it in any way, shape, or form, paperwork. And I bet there could be a decrease in police brutality. And with mandatory body cams, I don't care what the cops say. You got to follow the law. Well, if it's the law that you have to wear a body cam, too bad. I do have a huge problem with police brutality because a lot of times it's like, are the cops ever in the wrong? And like one dude got blasted for having a cell phone in his damn hand. If you're a cop and you're willing to shoot that quickly, maybe you're too weak, need to be a police officer. Maybe you're too nervous, too shy, too afraid. You can't handle a gun, and you're in.
Or
oh my
just
god!
a feeble excuse all along.
Huh?
Or was
We
just
street poor.
Did you just call me ableist, Lapis?
I said, or maybe it was just a feeble excuse all along.
Yeah, and like with these cops who are like acting like such massive, it's like, do they have any balls? Like, if you're a cop, to me, if you're going to be a cop, first of all, you have to be willing to uphold the law 100% of the time, and you have to follow your job. And to me, one thing to follow your job is to not brutalize people. You're supposed to protect and serve, not abuse and suppress. And if anything, I would hold cops to a higher standard, as they should. There's only one case I've ever heard of where a dude was acquitted of killing a cop in self-defense. And I actually had to read that a few times because I didn't think I was reading it correctly because it sounds so odd. But that's the terrifying thing is, and this is before cameras. So imagine having to try and prove that.
Yeah.
some damn good lawyers.
Yeah, and
But
yeah, me and Lapis had a discussion about a month or so ago talking about how to end racism.
Unfortunately, he agreed too much with me. I was assuming that he would be like a typical like Main Street Republican who would be like, we should be colorblind. Like the real problem is Black Lives Matter.
Joke's on you, fam. Joke's on you. That's the beautiful thing.
But I will this.
Go ahead.
I will say this. I know how cops treat poor people, particularly here in the South. Because you have so many, Southerners, Southern white people talking about, Blue Lives Matter, but they also get by the police at high rates, and it's just like, why?
Yeah,
Because
would you
I'm not
treat
one
y'all
of
like
those.
have a role
trash?
in capitalism. That's their point. They're the defenders of property.
I so disagree with that. I so do. But that's another time. Just to be honest. And anyway, but yeah, like in my state, we don't have police brutality occur all that often. There was a case a few years ago. I can't remember it off the top of my head, where this cop had shot a chick through the side window because he thought she was going to hit him with her car, and I was so pissed. Like I was seeing red because I'm like, if you're at the side of her car, like this is why body cams are so important to not only protect police themselves but innocent people.
A recent story had me heated as well. These cops killed I think it was 15. They had tased him while he was on an ATV. I think he was running away from them. I don't remember exactly why they were pursuing him but they tased him while he was on the ATV. He crashed and died. And the body cam footage that was released, they were dehumanizing him. Like they weren't like they were the things that they were disgusting. I was like, okay, all right. And these were black cops too. And I was like, okay, all right, we know who you are.
Yeah, that's the weird thing, and I mean that's what makes it so complicated is when people would bring up statistics like about how many shootings were unjustified, how many happened each year, what was the race of the victim, and what was the race of the officer in question. That's what made that makes this whole discussion even more complicated. But in the discussion me and Lapis had, we agreed far too much. It probably would have been a good idea to just give like a bit of a sampling, like this is what my opinion is. You can feel free to try and shoot it down in the stream, but here's what you're getting into. Imagine how many of these debates probably would not happen with people like Sparky, Voltaire, and Humane if they did that. Anyway, but we discussed some social, like how kids are raised, people's views about people of color, etc. It was a very nice stream, and also talking about about how kids are talking about how kids are raised, talking about how stereotypes and fears and how to disprove that, the education system with how Lapis, I think, I don't remember off the top of my head, but didn't you present something about how schools are still somehow segregated?
Yeah, bad. Part of it is because of class differences, like actual, middle class, lower class people tend to live in different areas. So my school was predominantly white. In a graduating class of 700 students, there were about 40. So yeah, but and then like there's like 6 and like 20, and there's like 30 Asian kids, Korean kids specifically, but the rest were white. Meanwhile, you'll go to like New York, the poor schools are like 85 to 90% black, and has, but the rich schools are mostly white and somewhat Asian. And you know, I think schools are very segregated. I think that part of that is because a lot of attempts to desegregate school down, either they're seen as no longer relevant or parents complain.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Yeah, a lot of.
mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, there have been instances where the United States federal government intervened and forcibly desegregated a school, like in Arkansas under Eisenhower when he called in the National Guard there, in Alabama with Kennedy against Governor Wallace. I think that could still happen again today, of if someone calls it out and either the governor, unless the governor is like a totally useless guy, could have the president step in. I mean, under this president, I'm just going to say it straight up. I don't think the time would be right now. Just saying, because I don't think he'd care enough.
Current
But
president, it's not reliable.
the current president is basically, if I would have had the right to vote when this last election occurred, I would have voted so hard right now. But
Say that
nonetheless,
He would have voted so hard right now if he
yes,
had
I
had
would have. Yeah, if I could have voted in that election, I would have voted like I would have voted. To be honest, to me, despite my disagreements with that person, would have voted for. Sorry, not sorry. I would have rather had her because I think she'd be more competent.
Actually,
I prefer Trump than Hillary, but
I
that's
like
just me.
I don't like either. Just to be completely straight up, I don't like either.
Me
If a
neither.
third party person could have gotten the election,
Yeah.
would have preferred that. But that's
so
gonna be
I would have, if
I
I lived in like, oh, go ahead, Kasich.
what I did, I covered my eyes and I pointed at my absentee ballot, and time it landed on Jill Stein. And I was like, okay, at the time. I tried again, pointed at on the page. That's like, well, that's an omen. And then I pointed and did it, and it landed on Trump. And so, and I had one of my friends sign as a witness. So I was like, yep.
Yeah, I've met a few Trump supporters
And
who are now leftists.
yeah, he will get to some people.
Yeah. That election. This is the first election I've been
Shit
alive
show.
for. Yeah, like this was the first one I was alive for to see the winner lose the popular vote. Everyone was so pissed about that at my school. Like my state is so deceiving with its image. It's really surprising. Like, it's seen as the most red state in the nation, but I think that image is going to go away in a few years anyway.
That would go to like,
What state were you?
he lives in
Utah. The Momo regime is its new name for me. That I'm going to call it that until that's over with. It's literally just the Momo regime. Crazy Momo.
My audio is so messed up.
I can't hear any okay, I can hear some reverb. So yeah, your audio is still better than Josso's, to be fair. But anyway, yeah,
not hard.
The dude literally made a video about me today. He's like, his audio is ear piercing, and I'm like, motherfucker, I put an effort in what I do.
Yeah,
like
Jasmine, for your information, is this guy that's been in drama with like pretty much everyone on this group, who called me mentally ill when I made a response video. Well, made like a video kind of detailing the drama, and said that I had given S-Man HIV/AIDS.
Yeah, he's a real charmer. I'm not gonna lie. When I was listening to his quote unquote diss track, when he's like, "You got HIV from the effeminate degenerate," he couldn't even pronounce her name right. That's the most beautiful thing is he called her the effective degenerate. He called her the.
I'm sure.
Good.
I'm sure his personality.
His personality is just like his haircut. He's just terrible. He has a fascist haircut. He has a fascist haircut.
Ew.
He has a fascist haircut. He has grease dripping from his face. It's basically, I feel like he is War Corpse Jr. Sorry, not sorry, but he's War Corpse Jr. If War Corpse had a son, God forbid.
That's an insult. No, that's an insult, dude. No,
The War
that's an
Fair
insult.
enough. Fair enough.
To War Corpse. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, War Corpse. I'm gonna have to write him an apology letter on Twitter. But yeah, basically, and now he's made a video response to me, and he's all calling me fat because I made a joke at the expense of some. This dude had a messed up face in my video review. Basically, his name's Bob or something. He's like,
Oh my
goodbye.
God.
And basically, Jossaman called me fat, and here's what Josso looks like.
I know he called you fat, but it's like, what the fuck?
What?
This
is
is
what
the
the-
Yozo Man.
Wow.
That is the Jossaman. Basically, he makes vaginas drier than the Sahara.
I'm not attracted.
Indeed.
I'm sorry. I can't. I can't.
It's
I can't do it.
okay. It's okay. It's okay, Kazik. It's okay. Trust me. When I first saw this video, like this is cropped in, right? Further away, it's not as abhorrent to look at, but closer up,
What
you're just like, Jesus, what is your deal?
Are
Like,
you using?
oh, I'm using Wondershare Filmora. It's a pretty good program to use. Here's me right here. I have a suit on because to rational skepticism, even though I thought I just looked okay in the suit. Here's my video, which he messed it up somehow because he's perfect at doing that. Then here's my response, and then here's
Yeah. Hopefully he didn't mention me again. I just.
I've watched the whole thing. He doesn't mention you again. Well, I think he may have, but indirectly, like he's mentioning everybody. So, so I'm going to respond to his entire video. I'll cut out the part where he's responding to some other person about the death penalty. But basically, but yeah, this dude, the most low energy stuff ever. Like, my God.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and not only that, but he has such an irritating mannerism of whenever anyone criticizes him, he says, "I just want to be friends with everybody."
you know, it just makes me laugh. It's like, you know what, Jossaman? That Nazi that wants to kill you for being bi, he just wants to be your friend. Like, it's like, Jossaman, where would you draw the line? Like, if you want to be everyone's friend, then that friendship is going to mean very little. Like, I'm only friends with people who are not toxic people. You know,
Yeah.
he wants to be friends with everybody. Hell, he wants to be friends with that homeless dude down the street. And while that's fine and all, better than him being friends with some Nazi who would probably want to kill him for being a bisexual guy. And when he's all calling me, saying I got AIDS from Lapis, it wouldn't be as traumatizing compared to getting any infection from him, considering he looks like he doesn't bathe that often. And I know I can sound a little harsh with the roasts and all, but like, you know, I mean, I don't tend to be that harsh until like you're lying or smearing my character. Then I can get harsh about
And
it.
Josman does that all the time. Like, that's pretty much like his modus operandi is to lie about people and then complain about it when they react.
Oh yeah, because he was saying these people were manipulating him, having him do these embarrassing things. Now he's saying they did nothing wrong. And I'm like,
And then he switches his opinion like minutes. Like it only takes a minute for his.
That Katy Perry song is too accurate about him. I swear to God. He is like Katy Perry song. You change your mind faster than you change clothes. And in his case, it's true. He looks like he has the same clothes 24/7. It's embarrassing.
Mm-hmm. But not, I should add, as embarrassing as this particular image here.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. I'm not gonna lie, I downvoted that video. Oh, everybody did. It only has one like.
Oh, by the way, my diss track, I'm dropping it tomorrow on him.
Okay.
I hope to drop my second diss track on him on either this Saturday or what have you. I have it recorded already. I just need to film and edit that. My original, the first diss track on him, I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty funny. You just see me you just see me pretend to fall asleep or something. You see me hold a Bible in my hand.
Yeah.
I mean, he does need Jesus. If there is a Jesus, he definitely needs that.
It's funny, he called you fat and he called you fat and idiot today on his video.
And basically, I left a comment, and it probably has more likes than his video. Like, not gonna lie.
I think it does actually,
it's so it's
How
because
do
he
I,
has no likes.
I have a question. How do I mute this for a few seconds? I need to listen to something real quick.
Okay,
Sure.
tap your own screen, and on a phone it will pop up
All right.
mic, the leave call option, and to turn on your camera. Oh, there we go.
How bad is my audio right now?
I still hear some reverb, but it's like delayed by 2 seconds. But it's not too bad.
Sorry, my phone's a little bit fucked.
Don't worry, my phone's 3 years old. I was on that a few days ago. That's why the audio was so bad. And by the way, I kind of roasted Zach because he's all calling me fat. I'd rather be a little chubby than be a skinny bag of bones, pocket protecting wearing piece of shit.
You're not that fat.
I mean, I actually did lose some weight this year, and that was because I actually turned the treadmill on, unlike Jocelyn, who just sat there for 10 minutes.
That was so annoying when he was like, he was boasting about how he exercises for 20 minutes on the treadmill every day.
Yeah, and then Vanguard roasted him, being like, "Was the treadmill on?" I'm not gonna lie, Vanguard is a chill dude. It was pretty funny. We were like, all the thug life moments I could have made out of that whole disaster. We would be here for about 2 hours, just all the thug life moments to pour over. Sadly, the joint looked like it was coming out of your chin.
Hi, I have a question.
Yeah.
Is it possible that I can exit and then re-enter the call?
Oh yeah. If you still have the link.
Yeah, I just re-enter the link I sent you in the stream.
If you have the Hangout app, it will have it saved there for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Thank
my
you.
comment. Yeah. Stay safe, ma'am. Wait, damn it! I meant to say fam, not ma'am. I'm so problematic. But yeah, my comment has like 2 likes on it or something, and his video has like 5 downvotes. He was so upset that everyone in the group chat was disliking his video to where it got 30 dislikes. I'm like, you said our politicians are being exploited. Like even if you're a far righter, you know that's not true.
Like, no one on the political spectrum believes that. Like, not even politicians believe that.
Yeah, even politicians running for re-election saw that, and they're like, nope, downvote. You know what? If Lapis were to run for the Senate, like if she moved to like I don't know New York and she was running for the Senate, she'll use Josso's video in her campaign ad. This is what happens when public education isn't properly funded. You see, our politicians are exploited. Elect me to the Senate, and I will make sure no child is left behind. And I mean it this time. Lapis for the Senate 2036 or whenever that could be. I don't know what New York's is, but yeah. It's true though.
Yeah, I'd probably have to go to like Hawaii. It's like I think Hawaii is the most left-wing state in the country.
I'd say Vermont would compete with that title.
Oh yeah.
Although
that was California.
Oh, yeah, I might go to California for the weather.
I wouldn't move to there because it's too expensive. It's too much of a disaster already, and I do think that it's going to be hard to argue for a red or blue wave at this point.
I don't think the blue wave is going to happen.
Yeah, with the current
the Democrats don't deserve it because they are continuing to screw over the working class, and they're still continuing to push for anti-worker policies, and they are still continuing to deny the need for universal health care, properly funded public services, and they are not standing up for the DACA children and the Dreamers. They are not challenging Trump on his support of interventions abroad and his hawkish foreign policy.
Democrats are, yeah, that's the thing why I called Democrats Demopublicans and Republicrats, is they are pretty similar in some economic ways and some foreign policy. I would say they are Diet Coke Republicans. And I apologize to Diet Coke lovers out there. I'm not one of them, but it's true. You know,
they want me to vote for them because like they'll say like This time you can vote for a trans politician. Isn't that wonderful? I'm like, okay, but like, how will she help the working class? How will she help trans rights? Like, what does she actually
Yeah.
stand for? And they'll be like, she didn't have to stand for anything. Don't you want to support her because of her identity? I'm like, not really, no.
Here's the thing. There was actually a trans woman who in 2016 was the first openly trans person, I think, in the history of my state to be nominated by the Democratic Party or a major party for a seat in the Senate. She of course lost because it's Momo land.
Mm.
And I was not shocked she lost, but I think she'd probably be better than a fucking Republican senator. There's only one Republican senator he's running for the Senate that I actually think is not a piece of shit. And that's surprising there was one out there. Like, I used to be a Democrat, like moderately left
Yeah.
Democrat.
And now you're moderately right libertarian.
Yes. And whenever it comes to when I was shifting, because I noticed as soon as it hit January of 17, I'm like, I don't think I could hold that label anymore or that idea because I just started having too many questions. There was way too much I was questioning, and I'm like, after the election and how it was a huge surprise upset. I would compare it to when Truman won re-election.
Yeah.
Everyone thought he was going down, and
Yeah.
he's like, jokes on you.
I did as well. I thought that there was no way he could beat Hillary Clinton. I thought that, everyone would be like, oh, he's obviously an idiot. He
Oh, yeah.
obviously has no idea what he's talking about. Like, and he's like, he does so many stupid things that you think would, alienate his base. Like that whole stuff about grab her by the pussy. How can you pretend to be for family values when you say shit like that?
Yeah, and you
Yeah,
also
I
gotta,
do agree with that.
yeah, and when I saw him win the states of Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, and Florida, I mean, Florida is a swing state, so it was not surprising, but Michigan hadn't, and Pennsylvania didn't go to the Republicans since 1988 for
Mhm.
George H.W. Bush. Michigan had not gone to the Republicans since 1984. Like, the fact, and the problem was she did not campaign, Hillary Clinton did not campaign in Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. That was a huge mistake.
Yeah, she was too greedy. She was like, "Oh, ha ha ha! Trump is so stupid. I don't have to care about the Rust Belt voters."
Oh yeah, and she paid for it dearly. I mean, she did win the popular vote, but that's not how it works. And it'd be funny if the old way we used to do our elections was still in place. She would be his vice president. For instance, for those who don't know, which I just had to do a simple, I watched this educational series about elections for fun.
Mm.
The system used to be like this. So if me and Lapis were running for the presidency, and let's say the evil, oppressive white male, was elected, and she came in second place, Lapis would become my vice president. And that's how it used to be. And then at some point they changed it to where we can run on a joint ticket if we
Yeah.
win. Then we're the ones who will be the president and vice president. That's how they used to do it in Germany too, the chancellor and vice chancellor. And God, that was such a horrible mistake. I mean, World Civ, I'm so glad I have that class. I used to hate it, and now I actually do like it. But, and the thing is when you look at these elections, it's not just who won the popular and electoral vote. I also like to look up about their platforms, what the issues of the day were, and just seeing the effects and the legacy that election leaves behind.
Yeah.
64, little did anyone know at the time, that was going to be a realignment for conservatism in the United States. The 60s was where liberalism was at its peak, and it's never recovered.
No.
Conservatism was on the rise in the 80s, and I think it was somewhat on the rise. Like,
In the
wait, go ahead.
2010, I'm not necessarily sure that conservatism is on the rise.
I said was on the rise in the 80s.
Yeah,
At
I
that time.
definitely say that's true. I'm not really sure what's on the rise in the 2010s. Like in Europe, it's definitely right populist, which is left economically, well, somewhat left, like social democracy, and
Mhm.
right socially, so like all that anti-immigrant, anti-Muslim stuff.
Yep.
In America and Canada, we have, I think our generation is very left wing. That's at least my experience with my classmates.
Yeah. My classmates are some of the strangest people politically. I got liberal Dems, conservative reps, independents, which that's now a cringy term for me, but whatever. And people who are like, some are like somewhat socialist. And it's so weird, and it's so interesting to kind of talk to them, because when the 2016 election happened, I already knew who I was going to vote for if I could vote. So I'm kind of chatting with these people. Some were Trump supporters. I would bring up that I didn't think he was fit economically for the presidency, considering his own financial history. The Hillary supporters, I was, saying, like, when I don't bring up the emails. I mean, technically, if we wanted to be technical, she's disqualified from being president, technically, under the law. Anyway.
Yeah, although both of them are criminals. That's the funny thing. When the chant was lock her up, really it should have been lock them both up, because they're both criminals. They both have a long history of corruption. They're both cheats. There's absolutely they're both despicable people, and that was the funny thing about that election.
To me, when I heard it was Donald Trump who was the nominee before Hillary Clinton, and I'm like, if she gets the nomination, this is going to be a disaster of an election. Owen said he thinks that Bernie could have beaten Trump, and I do too, to some degree. But the thing is, it's like, it's hard to tell. I don't think we'll ever know if he runs in 2020, which I don't think. I think he declined anyway.
I didn't see him do that, but maybe he did.
I think he declined. I don't know, but if he does, it'll be interesting, because here's the thing: he came within, an eyelash of stealing the nomination from her. Like, I think the closest she came was 2008, and then Obama totally Chris Browned her and took the nomination. I am a punny guy, by the way, to your fans in the chat, so please do not hang me with that piano wire just yet. Anyway, Teglin says no S-Man, which it's not Massan, it's S-Man, by the way. It's the other way around. S-Man, Lapis wins, you are the vice president. Well, as me and Lapis were going skydiving, for some reason she forgot her parachute. No, but if you were my vice president, it'd probably be a chill cabinet. We have like Colt Ham be the Secretary of State, have JJ be the Secretary of Defense, and Secular Hawk could be the Secretary of Education or something. Frederick Voltaire Bastiat can be the Secretary of Getting the Hell Out of My Face, that type of thing. And Humane can be the Secretary of Taking a Midol, because he got so angry in the religion discussions, which that was a lot of fun. I don't think I have what it takes anymore to do an 8-hour stream.
Yeah, well, I think with Humane, I'm just kind of done with Humane. He just rants in my comment sections.
He's leaving comments on your stuff too? Well, I mean, besides the ham discussion you had.
Yeah, he did another one. He did the one with China. Remember, he was like, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, yeah, in my comment section on that stream, which it's a shame there's not a part 2, because you guys still had a lot to say. But, I mean, it's hard to tell with Freddy, because it's like, dude, you keep changing your mind faster than Jossman changes his clothes, and it's not that quickly. Like, come on, dude. I think Freddy's smarter than Jossman, but in some ways that's a bad thing. Because with Jossman, he's too obvious about his tactics, and that's a good thing in that case. With Freddy, it's a shame he's not that naive and easy to see what his plans are.
Yeah, well, he before that, I think he didn't realize that with the group he couldn't treat it as a public space, and so he was a bit more open about his fascism. When it comes to now, he's like, okay, I guess I have to go crypto to get accepted by them again, where I can start, and then I can start disseminating my ideology.
Hey guys.
Hey, are you okay?
I'm just clogged up.
Yeah, I had that problem with allergies too.
I feel like I'm peeing toilet.
Well,
sorry for that.
Okay. It's all right, but I can't hear the reverb at this point. I think we're fine.
I'm trying to find my wire.
Okay.
Here it is.
But yeah, that whole I still feel justified losing my cool at Freddy. Like, I understand maybe it was a little harsh telling him to get fucked with a cactus, but I mean, this is the same shit I would hear from people who are being transphobic towards my best fucking friend. So I had kind of had enough of people like that. So
Yeah,
when he said that,
rant about degeneracy.
yeah, like there's, it's like, if every time they say something's degenerate, I just want to say, quote you and say, let the degeneracy flow through you. Like I let the fact I wear a fedora, I let that flow through me. Like, if you're drinking orange juice or something, like I just, zero shits are given. Like, if it makes me a degenerate to wear a fedora in a suit at a reception where everyone there's a normie, great. If Lapis here wants to tell capitalists to go get hanged with piano wires, great. It's all chill. Or if Patrick wants to like those kinky tweets Google It makes, great. I don't care, I've seen what Google It tweets or retweets, and my God, she has quite an imagination, or at least the person she's retweeting. My God. And Teglin says live stream and chill.
I have some great news, everybody.
Oh yeah, I heard about that. You can go ahead, tell Lapis.
I'm going to be an uncle.
Congrats, again, but
Yeah, I found out it's a girl.
Yep. I was only 11, almost 11 when I found out I was gonna be an uncle. She's 5 now, which is depressing, realizing how quickly time's gone by.
Oh,
I know.
If she gets taller, if she gets taller than me, I'm going to be triggered. Just saying. Like, I'm 5, I'm almost 6 feet tall. If she gets taller than me, I'm going to be triggered. Like, ultimately. Are you an ant, Miss Degenerate?
An ant? Well, I'm 5'8".
I mean, do you have a niece or nephew?
No.
Well,
Anyway, I think it's getting very late where I am, so I think I will call this stream.
Oh shoot! Yeah, I probably should have left a while ago. Didn't realize the time, but yeah, it was good chilling with you guys, and it was good briefly speaking to you, Conundrum.
Oh, Lonely Wolf.
Yeah,
We're just about to end the stream. You joined at just the wrong moment.
Yep, I gotta go. But as always, everybody, thank you for having me join Lapis. And as always, everybody, capitalism is great. Socialism is legalized theft. There's only 2 correct.
Oh, and let's end that. I get the last word here. It's my stream. Socialism amazing. There is a billion genders, and America will be overthrown by amazing. Goodbye.